Hello friends, we are kicking off the Christmas crafting season on this channel. Are you excited? I am. Today is a compilation of all my favorite tier tray DIYs that I've done. Well, maybe not all the ones that I've done, but all the ones I want to share with you. Let's get started.
These little ornaments from Dollar General were only $1 a piece. They were my inspiration for these DIYs today. So I took 4 of them for this first DIY. I took the little screw hook out of the top that was the ornament hanger, and I'm going to try to make the tops of them level because we're going to make a little tray, riser, whatever you want to call it. And so I just sanded each one of them down a little bit to make them a little bit more level on top. And now we're going to take Old 57 by DIY. And I thought that this chalk paint would cover this good because of the texture of the ornament, but it wasn't really covering that good. And I really didn't want to do 2 or 3 coats of paint on each one of these. So I ended up taking them outside and spray painting them with some spray paint. And you'll see those in just a little bit. Now let's get started on the tray part. This was a sign that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I sanded the edges around a little bit, and now I'm going to take beadboard by DIY and give it a really good, nice coat. I may have done 2 coats, but just made it look all nice and white. It was already white, but you know, just freshen it up. And then I'm going to paint the inside of it white as well. Probably wasn't necessary, but I did it anyway. Now I've got this beautiful scrapbook paper, and I'm going to glue it to the center. I'm trying to remember if I glued it or Mod Podged it, but I glued it. And just use a lot of that school glue, and it works really great. So I'm just going to stick it down in there. I'm going to use my little squeegee tool to press it down firmly and get all the air bubbles out. So, and it kind of spreads the glue around a little bit underneath there. Well, that's what I think in my imagination happens underneath there when I'm using the squeegee. So that looks good to me. Now this is what they look like after I spray painted them with some spray paint. I don't remember the name of it, but any color spray paint actually would have worked. This just happened to be a good color. I almost left them this color, but it wasn't exactly the color I was going for. I really was liking this Old 57 as my inspiration color. So I started just brushing it on there, and then I decided I liked it with this kind of dry brush look. So I did a super heavy dry brush where some of that darker blue showed through, and I thought it looked like the paper, the scrapbook paper. And then I actually did a little whitewash on it, and I'm showing you with nothing, and then the Old 57 dry brush and the white dry brush. So it's like kind of 2 different colors of dry brushing, but I love the way it came out. Now I had this gold ribbon that came off of some kind of little basket, gift basket or something. You know, I never throw a piece of ribbon away. And so I'm going to glue it down around the edges. I started out with a little hot glue just to keep it intact right away. And then I'm going to use this Tite Bond glue on here because you can smash it into the fabric and smash it flat. Smash it. You can press it flat. And the hot glue, usually you can see where it was and it leaves like a little bead under there. So I really like how this turned out better. And then at the very end, on the very last corner, I will put another little piece of hot glue just to hold it down. And I'm pulling that really taut so that it's nice and crisp on the corners. Then I'm just going to cut that off, and voila, we're done with that. I did take Big Top, and I'm going to give everything a coat of Big Top. The nutcrackers that turned out so adorable, and the white box. I did do the scrapbook paper too. It bubbled a little bit when I put the Big Top on it, but it came out fine in the end. I'm going to use the Fix-All adhesive that I get at Dollar Tree. See, I'm showing you that bubbled up a little bit, but that's fine. It turns out fine. So I'm going to use this Fix-All, which is kind of like a super glue, and a little bit of hot glue, yes, hot glue. So the hot glue is for a quick glue, and the super glue or Fix-All is for a permanent tighter hold. I'm just trying to figure out which way I want these little fellows to pose, and I'm going to glue one head down to each corner of my little shadow box, because we're going to make a little tray. This turns out so cute. You could style it up so many different ways. You could put a candle in it. I put a little bottle brush tree in it. It looks so cute. So you're going to have to let me know what you think about this one. It was super, super easy, and I love how it turned out. This one is so easy, I almost hate to call it a DIY. But I took this little blue ornament and I took the little screw hook out of the top. This was his original color. This was the original color of this ornament, and it matched so well. I just decided to take some beadboard by DIY and do a heavy dry brush on him. And this is really all he needed. And then I take that little votive cup, that little clear glass votive cup you see over on my left, and I glue it to his head. I use some of that Fix-All adhesive, and I ended up turning it upside down to until it set up, and it worked out great. Okay, I printed out this Nutcracker Sweet printable. I got it free off the internet. I just Googled it. I don't have a link for it, but I just Googled it and found it. Because this month, our challenge was to use Christmas music as our inspiration to do a Christmas song. So I used the Nutcracker Sweet song, and that was my inspiration when I found those little nutcracker ornaments. And so this was a really fun video for me to do. You can see what I'm doing here. I did sand that little wood part down a little bit. I got this little sign from Dollar Tree, and it's a little blackboard sign, but we're not going to use it like that. We're going to cut our scrapbook paper down. This is so simple and so easy, friends. I just cut this down to fit on this however I wanted it to. I measured it to make sure it was even, and then I just pressed the sides down so that I had a guide where to cut, and then I just used my paper cutter, voila, and cut down the sides, and it makes such beautiful straight lines. I could never cut those lines that straight myself. And then I'm going to put a good even coat of Mod Podge. I buy Mod Podge, I bought a gallon in 2018, and I'm still using it. It has lasted me and lasted me and lasted me. And so I just poured out a little bit in that cup to use it. Okay, this is completely dry. And I'm going to put my sheet music on there, and then I'm going to put a little piece of parchment paper. And with my very hot little mini press iron, you could use a regular iron with no steam, would work just fine. And I'm just going to press it down. This is so quick and so easy. It kept wanting to move my parchment paper around, so I struggled a little bit with that. But I left this in real time so you could see how quick and how easy this is to get this paper transferred with this iron-on method with the Mod Podge. And there's no wrinkles, and it feels like it came from the store this way. And then I decided to take this gilding wax. It's kind of a bronze color. I got this, I think this was gifted to me. I did buy some from Amazon one time. I don't know if this is the one I bought from there or not. I probably have it in my Amazon storefront link that's going to be in the description box for you if you want to check that out. I just did that all around the edges. You can do as much or as little as you want, or you don't have to do it. I'm trying to decide what I want to use for a hanger, and I totally decided on this little rope I got at, it's ribbon rope I got at Hobby Lobby, and it was on half price this week, and I was super excited that I needed it in a pinch, and usually it's not on sale the week I need it. So of all of the ribbon that I have in my stash, I didn't have any ribbon that would go with these DIYs I was doing this week, so I had to actually go and purchase some. So it just takes such a little amount of ribbon that even with the cost of the whole spool and all my supplies, this DIY is still well under $5. It was $1.25 for the plaque, just a few cents for the paper and the ink to print that out, and just a few cents worth of ribbon. So very nice. And I really love how this turned out. I love sheet music DIYs. So let me know what you think about this one. This is just a little decor piece I picked up at Dollar Tree some time ago, and I'm just going to take that cute little puffy heart off there and get it ready to DIY with. Now, I made these beautiful resin nutcrackers with this mold that I got. I can't remember if I got it at Amazon or if I ordered it from someone. I can't remember. And they fit right in this little frame perfect. So I'm going to make 2 of those castings. And I don't show you all of that because it's too time consuming, and there's plenty of videos out there for you to figure out how to do that if you don't know how. Now I'm going to use this little nutcracker. The other one is probably still setting up, so I'm just using this one to see how big I need that little Merry Christmas to be. I printed those out on some rice paper I got on Amazon to make my own decoupage paper, and it worked out so good. Now, I'm going to use some Mod Podge. I'm making sure that I have the hanger at the top, which hopefully the words weren't on there upside down in the first place. Silly me. I did paint the frame with a good coat of beadboard. Don't think I showed that on camera, or maybe I was talking whenever I was painting that. And I'm just going to put this scrapbook paper in there. You know, there's a little bit of wiggle give room between the backing of that and the frame, so I just kind of slid it underneath that too. So I'm going to use my heat press again with the iron-on method and just reactivate that glue, and it works great. No wrinkles. Now here are my 2 little, I keep wanting to call these soldiers, nutcrackers. And I mixed Petticoat Pink and Kissing Booth till I got the right color that I wanted, and this is the color. It's a beautiful color, and so I just gave each one of these 2 coats of this beautiful paint. And then I decided I was going to cut out my decal. It's not a decal, it's an image. I just messy cut it, kind of precision messy cut it around like that, and I'm going to put some Mod Podge on the back of it. I should have put it on something plastic instead of this paper because it actually transferred some of that ink onto the paper, which is fine. There was still plenty of it on my transfer or my decoupage paper. So this rice paper works really good for that. I'm so excited to make my own decoupage paper. So I'm going to just lay it up there until it dries. Now I'm going to take in my beadboard from DIY, and I'm going to do a pretty light dry brush on here, just enough. I mean, you know, I just do it until it looks like I want it to. I start out light and just keep adding layers. Now I'm going to seal it with Big Top by DIY. I get my DIY products from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. So if you're interested in any IOD, DIY, or upcycled thrifted items, go on over to her website. I'll have it linked in the description box below, and you can check out her website. Now, I'm going to use this gilding wax again on these little nutcrackers, and it turns out so cute. I just have layers and layers, but I think that's what gives it so much character and dimension, is when you just keep adding layers. So there was dry brushed white, and then I did that little bit of that bronzy gold on there. And then I decided to put it around the edges too, because I'm trying not to make this distressed. It's more kind of modern shabby chicish, and I was really struggling not to put twine or distress this. So but I really love how they came out, and I like, okay, taking them out there so carefully because I do not want to move that. I've got it right where it belongs, and going to just iron that little baby down, and look how pretty that is. I love how that turned out. I cannot wait to make more decoupage paper and use them in my DIYs. I'm going to use Tite Bond and hot glue on these resin pieces, and put one of these little nutcrackers on that side, and I'll put the other one on the other side. And I am going to make a bow with some of that beautiful ribbon that I bought. Believing I bought this at Joann's. Maybe not. Maybe I got this at Hobby Lobby. I can't even remember. But anyhow, I made a beautiful bow with all those beautiful colors, and here it is. Okay, I'm going to use some beadboard paint and this little block of scrap wood that was in my stash, and this little stencil of a nutcracker I made on my Cricut. I painted this all around with the beadboard, and now we're going to put this stencil on this little piece of wood. This was so easy to do, and actually I did more than 5 DIYs in this because I feel like this only took pennies to make. Same with the little nutcracker with the candle holder that was holding the little votive candle holder. So we could have counted that, both of them together, as one. And I was just having so much fun. Now we're going to put a thin layer of Mod Podge to prevent bleeding. And then when I put my pink, I'm pouncing, and I let it dry. And then I did a second coat. And then peel off that stencil, which I did not get on camera. I apologize for that, because the peel and reveal is always the most fun. And then I just took some of that beautiful little gold ribbon, wrapped it around the top, made a tiny little bow, and added it right to the middle. And I think this turned out so cute. It'd be so cute on a tier tray, or just added to your little vignette of nutcrackers. Going to seal it with some Big Top because we need to seal our DIY paint, and that's it. Here's our final DIY, and maybe my favorite one. So I picked up this little sign at Dollar Tree, and I had tried to peel all that paint off, but instead I just flipped it over to the back side. I took all that twine and beads off and just flipped these over to the back side. And I'm going to give them a good coat of beadboard paint, sticking with the beadboard, front and sides. I did 2 coats. They're all nice and dry now, and I made 2 stencils with that same little nutcracker, and I'm going to put one on each of 2 of these little squares. I'm going to put it right in the middle, try to center it as good as I can, and then just press it down and peel it off. Now I'm going to show you when I start stenciling that I got these little brushes. I saw someone use these brushes to stencil with. I cannot remember who it was, but I went right to their Amazon store because she said they were in her Amazon store, and I went right over there and purchased me some. You're going to see me use it in just a minute. But first we're going to put a coat of Mod Podge on there because I always do that. Here are these little brushes. They're like makeup brushes, and she said you could get them at Dollar Tree, one in a package, but I got this whole package of these for like $7 or $8, and I have them in my Amazon store link in my description box. And you just put a little bit of paint. I was kind of experimenting. This was my first time to use them. And you just swirl it around. Their bristles are super, super soft, and you just need a little bit of paint on there. And I did 2 coats. I did 2 thin coats because I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen here. And so I did 2 thin coats. There's my first coat. It turned out really good, guys. And I love it. I'm going to be stenciling with these every chance I get. So here's the peel and reveal for this one. I love peeling it off and seeing these beautiful crisp lines. Yay! So I did 2 colors. I did that teal color and the pink color because this was the inspiration for my colors for my Nutcracker sweet theme. This decoupage paper that I ordered online, I cannot remember the website where I bought it. If I can remember it, I'll try to link it in the description box. But that pink and teal are the colors that were in those beautiful papers, and that's why I chose those colors. Now, I had poured this a long time ago. This was in my stash. It was just like leftover resin. I poured in a mold, and so we are going to use that on this project. And I painted it with beadboard. Now, I'm going to... Oh, I did the iron-on decoupage method with this. You've seen it a million times in this episode already, so I'm not going to show you that. And I'm going to use just an emery board I got at Dollar Tree to file my edges down very softly and gently because I don't want it to look distressed. So I'm going to try not to get any of that paint off the edges, and it worked great. I'm in love with that paper. So then I did have this ribbon in my stash, and I was super excited because instead of the twine and the beads, which were very Farmhouse Rustic, which I'm trying to keep this a little bit more modern, shabby chic, I'm going to use that. So I lined them all up how I wanted. I glued that center one down first, and now I'm measuring and making sure that I get all of these little plaques spaced evenly and glued down. And then I'm going to make a loop at the top so we can hang it. And I'm going to just cut it off there. And I'm going to glue that down to just make a little loop at the top. I just stuck a push pin in the middle where you couldn't see it in there, just holding the back up, and it held up really nicely to hang it on the wall. And now I'm going to take that, but first, the gilding wax again. I just thought this was so pretty with the colors that were used and the style, so I decided to go for it. And just going to glue that up there on top, and it's done.
I hope you're enjoying this video. Let me know in the comments below if this is your first time seeing these DIYs or if you saw them the first time that they aired. I hope that we're making some new friends from this video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kendra and you're watching Late Night Creations, and we are so glad to have you aboard for all of our crafting shenanigans. Let's get back to crafting.
We're starting out with some marquee paint by DIY. And of course, some scrap wood. This is about a 1.5 inch by 1 inch little block that I just had in my stash. And this little wooden angel. that came in a pack from Dollar Tree. I'm going to clear wax this by DIY, and I'm going to take some of this beautiful ribbon that I got at Dollar Tree. I love this little crocheted ribbon. It's different than the one you get on the roll. This one just came in a pack. I got this one when I was visiting in Colorado, and I love it. So I'm just going to glue it on the top and the bottom so it doesn't shift around, and glue it down. There we go. And then I'm going to take a little, I'm going to glue my little angel on and get all the little glue strings off. Then I'm going to take just a little piece of that ribbon, and I'm going to tie it up in the center with a little piece of string. This is a little piece of embroidery string. You could use a little piece of twine or, whatever, and it makes a little bow. And I'm just going to tie that really tight. I'm not sure why I'm taking so much time to do that, but I want it to be perfect. And I am a pick and poke and fluff, and I kind of piddle around a lot. That's a good Texas word, piddle. If you know the true meaning of the word piddle without Googling it, put it in the comments below. Let me know. I do know because I looked it up one time. And it's hilarious, but we say piddle around a lot in Texas. I grew up saying that, and yeah, it's pretty hilarious, the true meaning of it. I'm going to take a little bit of faded burlap on a dry brush and just dry brush the edges a little bit. Aviary by DIY is a new paint color to me, and I am in love with it. It is a great farmhouse green for Christmas, and I'm just going to paint these little blocks from my stash. Almost everything that I used today, I think everything I used today was in my stash. So I'm going to use this faded burlap, and I'm going to dry brush the edges and a little bit around on these little blocks just to give it some dimension. I love my dry brushing and distressing a little bit, so I'm just going to dry brush around the edges of these little blocks. And then I'm going to take my IOD stamps, and we are going to stamp the word joy, the letters J-O-Y. So I got this IOD stamp from Two Chicks Home and Market over in Denison, Texas, and Elsie over there has a great little shop, so I'll leave her link in the description box below, and you can go and check her out. If it is your first time to purchase from her, you can use that link and get 10% off your first purchase. Now I'm going to just use this little piece of plastic to help me stamp these letters on here and give myself something to hang on to. So I'm just using the black ink from IOD, and I'm just going to stamp the letters J-O-Y. Once I stamp it, I take my baby wipe, wet wipe, and clean it off really good and place it back on the sheet. So we're going to do the J, the O, and the Y. I think this turns out so cute. Then we're just going to simply glue the three pieces together. If I would have been thinking, I probably would have put the shorter piece in the middle or done something a little different with that, but it's fine. I like the way it turns out. Now, I've had this green and white variegated yarn in my stash for a long time. I've been using this for a while. I got it at Dollar Tree, and I love it. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to twist it a little bit right there. You can see me twisting it. And I'm going to use it with some twine and just wrap it around here one time. I'm going to glue it down. And then I'm going to make a little bow and stick the little bow in the middle. Pretty sure I'll make a bow. Getting ahead of myself here. Can't remember what I did. Oh, did you see me trying to get that bug out of the way? Yes, I'm going to make a little finger bow. If you don't know how to make the finger bows, they're so simple. I do have a tutorial, a slowed down tutorial in real time on that. I will link that in the description box below for you. How to do that, and a tassel. And I forgot to seal this up, so I'm going to seal it up with some Big Top right now, and this little cute little sitter for a mini tier tray will be done. I'm going to start out with this little spindle that came off of a chair with some Marquee DIY paint and give it one really good, nice coat. The top, the bottom, the sides, all of it. And then once it's completely dry, I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper and I'm just going to sand down some of it just to give it a little bit of a distressed look. And once I do that, I wipe it down really good with a clean cloth. And then I'm going to take some Big Top by DIY, which is a top coat, a sealer. We want to seal our DIY paints because they are clay-based, and we want to seal them so they don't get reactivated when they get wet or moist. Okay, so that little wood round, I glued that to the bottom of the wood round. I also glued a little clear glass votive candle holder that I had in my stash from some other project. And I'm just going to wrap some twine around the top of the spindle and the bottom of the spindle. Put a little votive in there. I guess I was seeing how it was going to look. And this is a super cute little candle holder for a tier tray. I have a whole bunch of those little wood rounds in my stash because people tend to donate things to me when they no longer want them anymore. And so after events or weddings or what have you, and people are getting rid of the decorations, they just donate them to me. So I have a bunch of those little wood rounds. I also have purchased them on Amazon. I think they're in my description box below. I'm going to take some faded burlap by DIY, and I'm going to use this little piece of scrap wood. All of these pieces were just, I didn't even cut them. They were already scrap wood pieces that were just in a little box in my scraps. And I just dug through there and found some pieces that I thought would make cute tier tray decor. I'm just going to paint the whole thing, front, back, sides, all of it. I'm going to take weathered wood and a tiny little paintbrush, and I'm going to kind of twist it around so that it's really pointed. Oh, one more time. And I'm going to make a long line. We're going to make a Christmas tree. I'm going to make one of those tall, thin Christmas trees. So I'm just going to make like it's the trunk and the branches a little bit. You're not really going to see that, but it helps me get started. And now my new favorite, Christmas green. I'm going to take a fan brush and I'm going to just keep working it as you see me doing right here, and over and over and over until I get the achieved look that I'm going for. Starting out just a little short pieces up top and a little bit longer ones at the bottom, but it's really one of those tall skinny trees, so there's not much, doesn't get much bigger at the bottom. This was so easy and so simple, and I had fun with this. I'm going to just take some twine. I should have at this point done my big top, but I got excited about getting the twine on. So I went ahead and put the twine on the top and glued it down. Then I remembered I should have put the big top on. So I went ahead and put the big top on and sealed it. Now, I get my DIY products from Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs. That link will be in the description box below, and you can check her website out. I want you to be very careful when doing this process if you decide to burn off the little fuzzies off of your twine. I've had this piece in my stash from Dollar Tree for quite some time. Now I'm just going to take the little dreaming piece off. These are mountains. I'm going to attempt to make them look like trees. You let me know when I finish if I accomplish that. I tried to peel the paper off, then I tried the trick that I've seen some of my friends do with a wet rag and leave it on there for a little while and let it soak off. and I used my little Cricut scraper, and that stuff just comes right off. But I learned a lesson that you need to let it dry completely because it does get the wood a little bit wet. And so I would use the heat gun or dry it completely before I started painting it. So I painted it with aviary, and you can see that part right there that's wet. It is totally a different color, but that's okay. It looks fine, but in another project, it might not look fine. Particularly this project, it worked out. So I'm going to give it a good coat all the way around, top, sides, bottom, front, back, with this. Then I decided to add a little Monet's Garden to try to darken it up a little bit and give it some dimension and make it look like two different trees. And I didn't really like the way that was looking. And you can see that on the right side and the left side where it was still wet, it's darker, which works okay for this project. But like I said, in some projects, it might not work okay. Then I get out I'm not sure if this is weathered wood or layered chocolate, but I get out some brown and I add a little bit to my green, and I start trying to make it look like a tree. And I just decide I should have used my fan brush, but pretty soon I just give up and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Just forget it. And I'm showing you there where it was wet, and you can see that it's darker. Then I get out my IOD transfers. Now, I'm going to tell you something. These things are gorgeous. This is the new Christmas ones, and they are absolutely beautiful. So I just lay it on there and just rub it down, just like all the other transfers, rub-on transfers, and this was just easy peasy. Sometimes I have a little trouble, and I'll just start from one area and it doesn't want to peel up as easy, so I just start from another area and it peels up quite easy. So if you have trouble with that, just start working from a different area. So this turns out beautiful. It did not stick on that one side where it was still a little bit wet, but it's okay. I take my 220 grit sandpaper and very, very lightly, I'm barely even touching this, I sand it just to smooth it out, distress it the least tiniest little bit, and I think it turns out great. Using Big Top to seal it. And then I'm going in with some more of this beautiful lace ribbon, and I'm just going to put it across the bottom there. I'm going to use my little hot glue, put a strip of it across the bottom, and then I'm going to use that green variegated yarn and some twine again so that it will match and coordinate with our little joy sign that we made, and wrap it around there. I think I just did it one time. Let's see what I did. Nope, I did it 2 times. And I did like to kind of twist it and, twist that ribbon a little bit. It's not ribbon, it's twine. And then I just made a little bow to stick on top of one of the trees. Let me know if you think they look like trees. Okay, we're going to start with all these fun spools, and we're going to paint them all in aviary green. I'm going to pour a little bit out in my dish because that's the right thing to do. I don't always do that with my DIY paints, but you're supposed to. Then I'm just going to give them all one good coat because this is a little bit rustic, so it doesn't have to be complete coverage, but this paint covers really well on this raw wood. So I thought I was going to paint each one, the whole thing, and then I decided I was making a mess all over my hands, and then I didn't have anywhere to hold it that didn't have paint, so that was not smart. So then I started doing them all the way down to the bottom and then letting that sit and then going back. Now I did put a little bit of paint down in that hole, and then I took a little dowel stick and rolled it around in there. You probably won't even see those in the end when we put them together, but just in case, we want it to look all finished. So I did that. And then I just did all of those spools, and this is how they look. Aren't they so pretty? I love this color for Christmas. Now I'm going to take my Tap Bond Quick and Thick. It dries really fast, and I'm going to squeeze a little bit out onto my tray so that I have good, what do you call it? Control. That's it, control. Good control of where I want the paint to, the glue to go. Thank you very much. So I'm going to put a little bit on each of the sides of these on the bottom row. We're going to make a tree. And so I'm going to put a little bit on each one of these just to stick it. But it's going to hold together because we are going to make a pyramid. So the ones on top of it will hold it together too. See, that doesn't even connect at the top there. But that's okay, because we're going to take this one and lay it on top of that one, and lay that one on top of that one, and put this one on top of that one, and lay this one on top of that one. Until we have our little tree, and it turns out so cute. So simple, so easy, so quick, and affordable. And you're going to love it. So I just kept going till I got to the very tippy top, and this is what it looked like. I couldn't get a good picture of it laying down there, so I just decided to show you how it turned out. Now I got a star. I bought these stars in a package at Dollar Tree. They had quite a few in there. I'm taking some weathered wood by DIY and a baby wipe to get a really nice little stained look. I love to use weathered wood and a baby wipe for a rustic stain look. So this is what it looks like. Then I'm going to take Queen Bee paint by DIY and just dry brush some over that, so it just looks like a worn yellow gold star. Now, I get my DIY paints from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs, and you can get any DIY products and IOD products from her at www.unicorndustdesigns.com. Now, I wanted to give this a little dimension, and I thought this Monet's Garden would look beautiful dry brushed on the bottom layers of these spools, but I was wrong. It's just not the right shade, and I just was not digging how it was turning out. So what I ended up doing was mixing, I think I mixed a little bit of the weathered wood with the Monet's Garden to just dull it down a little bit. Then with that same brush, with that paint color still in it, I used a little bit of beadboard. And you can see that when I'm doing the dry brush off, it just looks like a lighter green. So I'm doing that on the tops of the spools, where, you know, tops should be lighter, bottoms should be darker, because that's how the sun hits things. Same way with hair color. It should be lighter on top, darker on the bottom, because that's how the sun hits it. Ask me how I know. It's what I do every day at work. Okay, so I did the front and the back, just in case you want to put it on a tier tray that you can see from the front and the back. I have a tier tray on my island. It's actually a bar, and you can see it from both sides. So I wanted to be sure and make this where you could see it two-sided. Now, it needed a little base. So I had a medium-sized Jenga block. I have the little tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I decided to glue 2 of those together. I clamped them together with some Dollar Tree, what do you call those, clamps. I guess I didn't show you that part, and let it dry. Now I'm going to seal this with DIY clear wax. I'm just going to brush a little bit on there. I don't even wipe it off. I just brush it on there and let it sit and let it dry. And then I'm going to use the same method I used for the star on the trunk. Just wipe on, wipe off, just like Karate Kid. Wipe on, wipe off. Wax on, wax off. Except it's not wax, it's paint. You could use dark wax if you wanted to, or any color paint you want to use. You can do that. So then I'm just going to glue that to the bottom, and I thought I had my little star all glued in there nice and neat until I started wrapping this pitberry vine that came from, either came from Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby. I get it at both places, and when it's on sale, it's about the same price. So I'm wrapping this around, and boom, there it went. I wish I could do all the cool little sound effects some people do when they have boo-boos, but yeah, I'm going to figure that out one of these days. Okay, so I start at the bottom, and I re-glued the start in, and I'm starting at the bottom this time. And when I got to the top, it was kind of where they had pieced together two pieces to make it fit, to make it longer, I mean. And so I just undid it and wrapped it around, and then it had that little kind of curly Q on the end where it had been wrapped around, and I thought that looked kind of cute up there by the star, so I left it. Not sure where I went there. Oh, I got this little dowel stick and just wrapped it, the very, very end of it around, and just kept a little curly Q there. Cute. Now, it would not be complete, in my opinion, if I didn't put a little twine bow on it. So I left that on one side. I guess I'm just showing you how I nitpicked that little thing. So on this side, I'm going to put, okay, maybe I want it on that side. Come on, Kendra. I'm pretty sure I should have edited all this out. Okay, that's the real deal. That's what I really do. Okay, little piece of hot glue, teeny tiny little twine bow. I contemplated leaving those little strings longer, but I did not. I cut them off, and this is our finished product. Okay, friends, this one was a little bit of a struggle. There wasn't a lot for the spools to hold on to. It was a great idea in my head, but it just didn't really work good. I kind of struggled with it a little bit, but I just worked and worked until I made it stick together. So I just kept putting that Titebond glue where anything connected. Yeah, I'm showing you, I gotta use a little bit more of that. And anywhere that the spools touched and connected, I just put that Titebond on there. And then I'm taking the weathered wood, and I'm going to, first I was just going to do a little light dry brushing on here, and then I decided I liked it a little bit heavier, and this little spool is going to be the stump of the tree. And I think it turned out cute. Now I sealed this piece, the entire thing, with Big Top by DIY. I don't really know. I don't have any rhyme or reason to why I owe it, whether I choose to use the waxes or the Big Top. I just wanted to use the Big Top on this one, I guess. Sometimes with the darker colors, the wax will take some of the pigment because they're so heavily pigmented. It will kind of remove a little bit of the pigment. So I like to use Big Top, but it's not the case with this. Okay, you see that little gap? And I cannot make my stump touch. So I had this little tiny wood disc. I have a little bag of wood discs, different sizes. So I took this little tiny one, and I'm just going to use, I guess I used dark wax on something, and I just, was that dark wax or was that rack? That was that wet wipe from the weathered wood. And then I'm just going to glue that little disc on top of the spool so that it will sit on our tree correctly. Then it wouldn't really glue, so I decided I needed to sand off a little bit of that paint so it would have some raw wood to attach to. Now, I did wrap a little bit of twine around the stump. I did not get that on camera. My camera died in the middle of me recording, and I didn't know it because I can't see my camera when I'm recording. So sorry about that, but I did wrap it with a little twine. So I have these little angels that come in a pack from Dollar Tree. I don't know if they have them this year. I haven't looked for them because one year I bought several packages, so I have plenty. I'm just taking a little bit of vintage linen to just make her look, have a little color to her. Make her a little more white. A little more, I don't know. I just didn't like that natural wood with this more rustic look. She looked too clean. So now I'm going to rough up that spot where she's going to sit. Just rough it up with a little piece of sandpaper, get that paint off there. And then I don't know why I used hot glue, but I decided to use hot glue for those 2 pieces. I wanted it to go quicker, I suppose. And I'm just going to clean that little bit of hot glue off there. So, you know, we want it to look nice and neat. And look at that. Would you look at that? Look how cute that is. Yep, I'm going to get that glue all off there. Now these 4 little spools I painted with beadboard. I didn't figure you needed to watch me paint those. And then I have these free printables that I printed off on my printer on just some different kinds of paper. And I was trying to get some really pretty parts of the music on the spools. But I went with this scrapbook paper I got at Hobby Lobby. And I liked the green because I've got a theme going on here with that aviary, and I thought it matched. So I took my paper cutter and I cut little strips of paper just the size I needed to fit inside that spool. Now I did see these little spools, some similar ornaments made. I would love to give credit to whoever made them, but I did see them somewhere. Maybe people are always sending me cute DIY ideas, and so maybe someone sent it to me. I can't really remember where I saw them, but definitely making them my own, and I just think they're adorable. So I'm going to wrap that paper around. I'm using some of that Type Bond Quick and Thick to glue it, and then I'm just going to cut it off and glue that down really good. Now you could use Mod Podge if you want. I just had the Quick and Thick right there handy, and it worked great. And then I just sealed that little seam down, and I didn't even seal the paper down. I just left it like that. Now I have all 4 of them wrapped, and I'm going to take a little faded burlap, which I probably could have done before I wrapped the paper around them. But no, I didn't do that. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a heavy dry brush. A pretty heavy dry brush around the edges. I did a little bit on the paper and smudged it in just to give them a little bit more aged look, not so stark. So that all of my DIYs today could be put on a tier tray all together, or if they're hanging on the Christmas tree, they all match. And I got out my wood bead collection and decided which beads I thought were the right size that would look good on this little ornament. And I'm going to stack them, and so this is what I decided to do. Now I took this green yarn that I've had and I've used forever. I got it at Dollar Tree probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm just going to put a piece of a piece of twine and that green yarn together, and I'm just going to feed the beads and the spools on in whatever, pattern that I want to, whatever I like. I'm trying to decide if the music patterns matter at this point, and they kind of didn't. And then just make sure that those holes, sometimes there's a little extra wood shavings in there. You just have to kind of poke through to make sure that your twine is going to go through. So then I'm going to tie a knot on the end, so obviously nothing slides off. So we're going to just tie a big, huge knot on the bottom. And I do believe I put a little drop of hot glue there to keep that intact. I don't know if I got that on camera or not, but yes, I did. So I'm going to put that there, and it fell out of my hand. Okay. And then just hold that for a second until it gets dry, and then pull that down. And then I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to cut the tape off, and I'm going to tie a knot. I think I'm going to tie a knot. Yes, I'm going to tie a knot on the top of this bead so it doesn't go anywhere. And then tie these 2 in a knot together so that we have a loop so we can hang them on the Christmas tree or hang them on, you know, a greenery garland. That would be cute too. Now, I've got this little piece of a garland or a pick or something that was just in my stash. I'm going to cut off this piece. I'm trying to figure out what I want to cut off. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to glue it to the top. And then I used a bunch of those little pit berries off that pit berry vine and just glued them around, and then a little bitty pine cone, and just did some little mini, my little mini greeneries at the top. And I think it turned out so cute. The second one was when my camera died, I think. And I had just did some embroidery floss around the center of the spools. You'll see it when I show you how they turned out in the end. But the second ornament, I just took, excuse me, you can see over on the left I had some embroidery thread over there. I just took one of those and wrapped it around the center of the spools. So here I'm showing you that I just put those little pit berries around, and then my camera died. So you didn't get to see me put the rest of the stuff and the pine cone and all that on there, I don't think. I can't remember when my camera died, but it was not at a good time. I got this bead garland at Walmart last year after Christmas on clearance for almost nothing. And so it's a little bit too pink for my taste. So I'm just going to take the sanding block and just sand them while they're on the strand just a little bit. Then I'm going to take dark wax by DIY and just rub it on them. It just gave it a little different look to it, just darkened it up a little bit. Then I'm just going to take them off the strand. I'm just showing you how I'm going to store them. And then I tied a little loop knot in that, and then I'm stuffing them down in this jar I got at Dollar Tree. I have a bunch of these for organization in my craft cottage, and then there they are, ready to use next time. Now for these spools, I'm using dark wax with a brush and then just rubbing it in, and I'm going to do all of these. And I did it pretty heavy. I want them just to look like old spools. Like I said, I love vintage spools, but they are rather expensive. People are really proud of them. And then this is so simple, y'all. Just put the beads and the spools on in whatever order you want to. I did a spool 2 beads, a spool 1 bead, a spool 1 bead, a spool 2 beads, and just, you do it however you want to. You know, that's the fun thing about garlands and banners, is they are so customizable to make however you want to. But I absolutely love how this little guy turned out, and cannot wait to have it on my tier tray for Christmas. Now I tied a knot in the end to keep it from going anywhere. I ended up with a spool on each end, so I ended up having to put a spool on this end because I had started with the bead, and then I ended up doing a tassel. I will link my tassel tutorial, slowed down tassel tutorial, okay, that was difficult to say, in the description box below if anyone doesn't know how to make a tassel, and you can see how to do that. Just going to cut that off and make it however long I want to, and tie up the end, put a little drop of glue in there, and this one is done. Grab yourself some clean, empty toilet paper rolls because we're going to make an adorable little craft. So you're just going to smash it down. You're going to draw yourself a little Christmas tree. I drew one, cut it out, and then I traced it off so I could make the other side the exact same way. And I'm just showing you how I drew them on there and then cut it out with my scissors. And then we're just going to cut on those lines. You can make them as skinny, as wide, as fat. Now, the best thing to do is, I made several of these, is to not cut those tips too close. Leave it a little wide so that it stays connected. You'll see in the end what I'm talking about. I ended up making this one where they weren't connected, and it works out okay, but they just work better if you leave them connected. So at the points of the tips is what I'm talking about. See where that is? I should not have cut all the way in there, just left that. You'll see when you see the other ones that I do. I only do one of these on camera because it's just repetitive and the same thing. But when I draw that out, when I cut this, okay, I'm going to cut in, and when I cut out right there, okay, when I go back in, I should have left a little more space so it stayed connected on the tips. I'm going back in with this Avery. It's been my favorite DIY paint for Christmas. I'm going to put one coat on here on both sides. I'm going to dry it up with my heat gun, and I'm doing both sides of this. I'm going to take Vintage Linen by DIY. I get my DIY paints from Sammy, www.unicorndustdesigns.com. She has all your IOD products, DIY products, a lot of awesome thrift finds. So go over there and check her channel out. Her website. You can check out her channel too if you don't know her. Okay, so this is what it looked like. And you can see I'm snipping those tips right there. See how I snipped those? Because some of them were connected, some of them were not. I suggest that you leave them all connected. The white ones I left connected, and they stand up a little bit better. But this is what they look like finished out. We are still using our aviary green paint by DIY. We're going to put a little in this dish. We're going to add a bunch of water. We're going to water it down. We're going to soak some of the canvas drop cloth that I love so much. I just cut a strip of it, and we are going to run it through here and soak it up. I just wanted to give this a little bit of color, and I didn't have any fabric dye or anything like that, so I thought, why can't we just paint it? So instead of painting it, I thought, well, with just some watered down paint, we could just soak that paint up in there, and let's see how this turns out. So I have some parchment paper. You could use wax paper. You could use an old trash bag, whatever. And I'm just putting it over there. It's really wet. I took it outside, laid it outside, and let it dry outside in the air. And this turns out beautiful. Now I'm going to just snip it on this end, and then I'm just going to rip strips. Just rip it. Just take out your frustrations and just rip you some strips. And there you go. Rip it. Rip it, rip it, rip it. And then I'm going to cut it in smaller little sections. We're going to make a Christmas tree. Imagine that. Another Christmas tree. I'm going to make them all about the same size. They don't have to be perfect, but we'll make them all about the same size. Then I got these, I think I got these cones, styrofoam cones, in a 4-pack at Hobby Lobby. I'm not quite sure, but you can find styrofoam cones just about anywhere this time of year. I'm going to paint it with, can you guess what color this is? Yep, Aviary by DIY. And you have to be careful using your heat gun on the styrofoam because it will melt it. So I got that coated with I did 2 coats of paint on there. And I'm going to take these strips, and the first one I do on each row, I'm going to tape it together to make a loop, and then tape the loop to the tree, just like you see me doing right there. And make sure the bottom of the loop is at the bottom of the tree. And then I'm going to just keep going all the way around the tree until I have a whole layer of them all the way around the bottom. The next one, I'm going to put the glue actually on the styrofoam. Lay it down there. Now I want the bottoms all to match up. The tops do not have to match up. So wherever I have to put that glue to make the bottoms match up is what's important. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. But what matters is that the bottom loops match up, because you're going to have loops that come down over those tops on the next row. I'm going to dance with those strings a little bit. And you just keep going around and around and around the Christmas tree, just like this. And all those strings and the ragged edges are what makes this look rustic. And we like that. Okay, next we're going to kind of brick lay it. So we want our next one to go in between two of them. And again, we're going to make our little loop so we know exactly where it's going to lay. So same as we did the first one, and we want it to be in between those and to lay over about halfway through, down. See, that's not the right way to do it. We want it to go right there and to lay about halfway down. I'm not sure why I thought there was a front or a back to that, but apparently there was. Okay, right there. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on the bottom row. Just keep going all around until we get all the way around. That was intelligent talking right there. All the way around till we get all the way around. And we're going to do that all the way to the top. Not sure what I'm trying to tell you there, but I was trying to say something. So keep them close together so that you don't have gaps. And then here we are all the way to the top. Now we're at the very top and almost finished. And we are going to put a little star up there on the top because, you know, well, all the trees need a topper. You could put anything you wanted on the top. I just happened to have all those little stars, and that's kind of seems to be the theme of this video, is to have a tree with a star on the top. So we're gonna keep that. I'm going to melt a little indentation in the top of this with the tip of this hot glue, and then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue in that indentation. I'm going to make sure my star looks right first. Okay, it does. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in that indentation and then sit it down in there and hold it until that glue dries a little bit. It looks cute. Okay, the pitberry vine, you could leave this off if you don't like it. You can add it. You could add some little fairy lights, whatever. I just think this keeps it looking rustic. And all I had to do was really hot glue where it started, because this I kind of just, you know, I wound it around there and then just tucked it. I may have been able to tuck that some way, but I just put a little hot glue in between one of those little loops and tucked it in there, and I think this turned out adorable. Okay, I cut a triangle to resemble the shape of a Christmas tree out of just a piece of scrap cardboard as a template. And then I have these beautiful scrapbook papers that were gifted to me. Actually, I think I won them in some kind of scrapbook raffle basket years ago. And finally found the perfect project to use them in. So I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to use, and they're double-sided. This project is best if you use double-sided paper. Would you look at how beautiful those are? Okay, so these are the ones that I chose because I like them. I don't really know why I chose them. That's the ones I chose. So I'm going to trace this shape out onto the paper and cut it out. Easy peasy. I'm going to do that on each one of those pieces of scrapbook paper. Then I'm going to take some little skewers that are those little bamboo ones from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take the DIY dark wax, and just stain them up a little bit. Now, I'm going to take those little triangles and we're going to accordion fold them. I have my little Cricut scraper. You could use a popsicle stick. You can use anything to crease it to make them nice and crisp. Your little folds nice and crisp. You want them all to be the same width. So just take your time carefully. I struggle with this sometimes, getting them even and straight, but I've sped this up, but I took my time and just really watched and made sure that I got them all even. Now I did one of them a little bit bigger. I think this was the first one I did was a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile. This thing is great. You can punch holes. You can do, I don't even know what all you can do with it, quite honestly. I use it for a hole punch. And then, yeah, I'm going to flip and flop everything around. Then I'm going to put that skewer through those holes. I was inspired by this by a picture I saw somewhere. It was on a blog I was reading, and she was doing some Christmas decorating, and she had these in a vignette, and they were so cute. So I'm going to use some Marquee by DIY and paint this little bead. And then I'm going to wipe off some of the paint because this is rustic, so I don't want it to look completely painted. You know, it's got to look a little rustic. I'm going to glue that bead to the top, and then we're going to move on to our other ones. I already folded them and got the little sticks in, and then I'm going to put a little star. I thought it would be cute, though, to put one on each side so they can be two-sided. So I'm going to glue the two little stars together, and that pointy end of the little stick is right at the bottom of that star. Okay, now if you had a longer, bigger one, you could use these little stump looking things from Dollar Tree, and that would probably be okay with this one, but I have that piece of a spindle that I cut off and these little pieces of a tree branch from my yard that I cut. So that's what we're going to use for these. I'm just going to use a little bit of some Type Bond Quick and Thick to help stick them in there, and there we go. That's what they look like. And I'll give it a thumbs up. I think that they look so precious.
Beads, and I filled the holes with some spackling. I put a little dowel rod in there to take up most of the room, then I put some spackling in there and I sanded it down. I'm going to use these for the heads of my Mary and Joseph, and I used a smaller one for baby Jesus. And we're going to make a manger scene in one of those Dollar Tree shadow box houses. Now, I'm using this Warm Buff by, I believe it's Apple Barrel, and I'm just going to swirl them around in there to get the paint on there, and then take a paintbrush to kind of smooth it out, if you will. Then I'm going to take these Jenga blocks and tumbling tower blocks, the tumbling tower blocks that you get at Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint it white, all the sides, and I just used I cut it down a little bit. I cut these all to size. You do it however you want to. The Jenga blocks I bought at Five Below. I believe I got them at Five Below. I can't remember. And I cut Mary a little bit shorter just because, I don't know. I think women are normally shorter than men. Not always. Not even typically anymore. I don't know. It just, in all of the scenes, it always depicts Mary a little bit shorter than Joseph. I used my little 2-inch mini miter saw that you see me use sometimes. You can use whatever you have at home to cut those down. And then I had this little star in my stash. I got a huge pack of them at Hobby Lobby years ago, and I've just been using them for projects for years. And so I'm going to use this little star and paint it yellow and put a little bit of gold on top of it. I didn't want it too shiny, but a little bit of shimmer is good. Now I have this wood grain look scrapbook paper that I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm just measuring the inside of this shadow box, and I'm going to make this my background. So I'm just cutting it to fit, and then we're going to glue it in after I paint
the outside of the shadow box a little bit. I'm using the DIY wax, dark wax. Absolutely love this stuff. You can see that I've used quite a bit of it out of that little jar, and it goes a long way. So you know I've used a lot of it. I use it on a lot of projects. So I'm just kind of painting it on there. And then at the end, after I get it all painted on there, I do take a soft old white t-shirt. You see me use those a lot in my videos. And I just wipe off the excess. Most of it's soaked into this wood because it's pretty porous, but I just wiped it off so there wasn't any excess, like it's a wax, you know, wipe on, wipe off. I did the inside, the outside, the edges, everything, so it looks like an old barn stable, which actually I've been to Bethlehem and I've seen the type of dwelling, animal dwelling that Jesus was born in. Not the exact one because they don't know for sure where exactly it was or if it's even still there. But I saw one that was like it, and it's not a barn at all. It's an underground, semi-underground cave-type dwelling, which was amazing. Then I took a little bit of that dark wax and just kind of dirtied up Mary and Joseph's clothes because I think their clothes would have been kind of old and tattered. I don't know why I think that, but, you know, I just like to use that dark wax, honestly. And so I'm just taking a little bit of that canvas drop cloth that I use all the time and giving baby Jesus some swaddling clothes or some swaddling cloths. I guess they weren't really clothes. It was just swaddling cloths. I'm going to glue that tiny little bead on his head, on there for his head. Then I'm going to glue Mary to Joseph just to keep them from sliding around. Giving it some security with that wood glue and the hot glue. Glue them together, and then I'm going to give Mary a head and Joseph a head. Just glue them right on top. It's kind of primitive and cute. I don't think I show me doing Joseph's head because it's kind of redundant. Then I took a little square of burlap, and I'm going to glue it, wrap it around them, and I'm just going to cut that bottom piece off. I'm going to glue baby Jesus in their arms. How cute is that? Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to glue them in the stable, in the barn, in the house, whatever you want to call it. I've done a similar craft with my Sunday school class without the barn, and they absolutely love it, and I plan to do something similar with them again this year. Then I thought it looked a little plain, so I just glued a little Spanish moss in there to pull it all together. Your tray, and it's going to be a little garland. You know I love garlands and banners. It's actually a little garland banner. You know, it's miniature for our tier tray. So I'm just putting that, I believe it's that warm buff again. I'm just going to give it a little light coat, and then I'm going to take, I did it in warm buff, and then I'm taking, I think it's desert sand, and kind of distressing it a little bit, making it look that, you know, like it's got some texture to it. Then I took that chocolate sprinkle and just distressed around the edges. I mean, do whatever colors you like. I just used 3 colors of brown, 3 different colors of brown to make it look, you know, like it's just some old worn pieces of wood. And I think that they turned out pretty cute. And then I'm going to make some stencils on my Cricut. You could use stickers for this, whatever you want to use. I did the Peace on Earth, Goodwill to Men, because that's what the angels said to the shepherds in the fields as they were watching their sheep by night. And so I'm just going to show you one of each, not to make this video forever long. So put the stencil on, and I'm going to show you how I use Mod Podge to kind of seal that so we don't have any leakage. I just put a thin coat of Mod Podge all over that area, being sure I get it all over the edges so none of that paint, when I put it on, will seep under the edges of the stencil. You can do this with regular stencils as well. This works really good. I also use these little, I don't know where I got these little mini ones. They came in a pack, a variety pack, I think. And I just cut that pointy tip off to make a pouncer. And I'm just pouncing. I know it's hard to see what I'm doing because I'm going up and down, straight up and down, not sideways. I'm just doing the angel for you. And I'm using white chalk paint. And I'm just pouncing up and down, up and down, up and down until I get the entire thing filled. And then I'll look at it and make sure I didn't miss any spots. And then just peel away that stencil, and there was that tiny little piece between her halo and her head. Just took my tweezers and peeled that away. Now I'm going to just put a little color on these beads. So I sprayed a little water on them, and then I'm going to use this Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm just putting enough in there to get it the color that I, as much coverage as I want. And just stir them up, stir them up. Then I'm going to take them out and wipe off the excess. And if it's not as dark as I want it, then I just put them back in there or put a little more stain in there, or the wax in there, I'm sorry. It makes it look like stain, so I'm saying stain. So I'm just going to take them out, and then I just laid them on a piece of that drop cloth to dry. Now I'm going to take some of this thinner twine that you get in the automotive department at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make a little hanger for these tags, because if I hang them straight on the little banner, they're going to hang crooked. So I'm going to make these little, hangers for the tags. And I'm going to just, now for this, with this thicker twine that I also got at Dollar Tree, I'm going to cut however much I want, however long I want my banner to be, and then I'm going to tie each one of these on there. But in between, I'm going to put my beads. So I'm going to tie a tag on there, and then I'm going to put a couple beads, and then tie a tag and put a couple beads. And I'm going to use some painter's tape on the end of that thicker twine to get it to go through those beads nice and smoothly. So I just leave it on there the whole time. And then I decided I wanted to use a little bit of that drop cloth and cut some little thin strips and make some little strips to hang down. But you'll see in the end that I didn't like the way that that looked. It didn't hang right. It was too thick. It was too long. I don't know. I just didn't like the way it looked. So you'll see that I changed that up. So I'm not going to show you this whole process, but you just get the hang of it, and you're just going to make it your own anyway. So this is just for inspiration. So you can see I didn't like that, so I just decided to tie it in little knots, and I thought that was much cuter on this little tier tray because we want it to be small and not all taking up the whole space. So I did one on each end, and then I tied a knot on the end of that. Okay, I'll show you, I'll reveal that on the tier tray in the end. Now, I took these little bottle brushes that come several in a package. I think there's like 5 or 6 in a package at Dollar Tree. And then I think all of this is Dollar Tree stuff. I got those little wood stumps at Dollar Tree, these beads. No, I got these beads on Amazon, telling you a story. But they come a whole lot in a package. Most of the things that I get on Amazon, I will have linked in the description box, and you can go check them out and see if you want to get those. So I'm just dry brushing these with just a little bit of those same colors I've been using. I think it's Warm Buff and Desert Sand. And then I'm just going to glue. I thought I was going to use some wood glue and hot glue, but there wasn't enough space to do both of them, and I ended up doubling it over, and then it doesn't stick at all. The hot glue and the wood glue, if you overlap them, it's like oil and water. They don't work. So I think that the wood glue will hold this. I mean the hot glue, excuse me. I think the hot glue will hold this just fine. I said wood glue because I'm wondering why I didn't move that wood glue out of my way. It's just hanging out there. Then I'm just going to put a little hot glue on that stem, and I think this is just the cutest little addition to a tier tray, this tiny little tree. And these little bottle brush trees are all the rage this year, especially stuck on some spindles or on a tree stump or a wood block. I've been seeing a lot of that this year, and I think that they just look great. I think this is so cute. Look how cute they look. And I think they just look cute in pairs as well. Now for the next DIY. This is so simple. Just a scrap block of wood that I had. I've had this in my stash for years. I had cut a bunch of them this size for a craft at Camp Gigi probably 3 years ago. And I've just had them in my stash. Been using them up. So here we go with this. I think this is the Desert Sand. I'm going to dry brush it. Not a whole lot. I don't want a whole lot on there, just around the edges, just to, not make it so stark white. And then I did take my sanding block, probably in the 120 grit, and I don't know if I show you that on camera or not, but I just I'm going to say dirty up the white a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I sanded a little around the edges, and if you get a little too much of your distressing, that's a good way to remove some of it. I didn't get on camera showing you how I wrapped the twine around and put the bow on. I did not show you how I put the decal on. I guess I thought I hit record and I didn't. But you could use stickers. You could handwrite it. I think this is really good that the wise men still seek him, meaning we still seek Jesus. And there's that little banner on the tier tray. Okay, here's the last one. Last but not least, I found this little book stack at thrift store, I believe, or Goodwill. And it is definitely from the 90s. These are the colors that we all had in the 90s, if you're old enough. And so I just took them apart, and that tape was so sticky on there, I couldn't even get it off. So I just took them outside, and it was late at night, so I couldn't record out there at night. And I took them out on my craft cottage porch and sanded them with my orbital sander. It took me a few seconds. And now I'm using the Fawn by Waverly. I love this color. I love the coverage it gets. And I'm giving every inch of these little books a good coat of this. Good solid coat. And then I'm going to take my white chalk paint. I use Rust-Oleum's white linen. I love it. I buy it off Amazon in the quart size, and then I just put it in this little jar so it doesn't dry out as fast. And then I showed you that I'm leaving the page part in that color, and then I'm taking my chocolate sprinkle and going to wherever the book would be worn, I'm going to just darken it up a little bit, and I'm going to put it on the pages part a little bit too. So that's what they look like. Then I'm just going to take a Sharpie. I was going to use my paint marker, but you can see where I'm writing the letters, it was too fat. Was too thick. So I'm just going to handwrite Peace on Earth on this little book stack. Don't always have to use your Cricut. Don't always have to use stickers. Just take your time. This is in doubled up speed. I took my time and I just wrote Peace on Earth. Here's some more of that canvas drop cloth. I'm telling you, I use it all the time. It's such a good buy. Go ahead and spend the $20 or whatever it is. You get a big, huge sheet of it, and you can just use it and use it and use it. I'm going to hot glue these books together so they don't go anywhere. And it's really lightweight pine. It smelled like pine when I was sanding it. And then I'm just going to tie that, not even in a double knot because I don't want it to be super bulky right there. So I'm just going to hot glue it down. This canvas drop cloth is so nice to work with too. I'm going to take two little scraps that I pulled off of something else, probably came from Dollar Tree. Glue a couple little pine cones that I got these little packs of pine cones at Dollar Tree. These little red berries came off of some picks I got at Dollar Tree. I'm just going to stick a couple little ones, just, cutting a couple little ones off, gluing them where the white styrofoam doesn't show. And there you go. It's all done. I think it's so cute. I love it. So here's the finished tier tray. Let me know if you have a favorite piece.
We made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed. You gave this video a thumbs up. All the things that help us grow. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.